All right, Pickle, it's time to round out the show by answering some burning questions about the upcoming week of college football across the Lone Star State. Where are we starting?
Up first, let's go Memphis at number 24, Houston. They're an 8.5-point favorite, 8 p.m. on Friday. Houston has clinched a spot in the AAC title game. How does that affect this game?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because this is a situation where, for Houston, there is an argument to be made that, like, this game doesn't matter. I think it does, though, and I'll make the argument that it does. If they run the table, meaning they beat Memphis this week, they beat, I don't know who they play next week, some team they're going to be fair, East Carolina, I think. East Carolina, and then they beat Cincinnati in the AAC title game, they would have an outside shot at getting a spot in the what am I saying? In the New Year's Six Bowl, as the top ranked group of 5 team. So they've got an outside shot of that, and you can't spit the bid against Memphis. No. Memphis has had a weird year. They are not the Memphis that you remember. They're not like a 10-win Memphis team. I think they're 5-5 coming into this game. They've got an inconsistent defensive play.
2 years ago they were in the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, they've been battling injuries at the quarterback spot. It's been up and down for them. Houston at home just needs to take care of business. Now, that hasn't always been their strong suit. Is just going out there and just like dominating teams that they're better than. I mean, see a couple weeks ago against USF, but go out there, get the win. Make sure you don't spit the bit ahead of bigger things for the.
And we have seen flashes of Memphis that when they are good, they're good. Like, it's just super hot and cold.
Yeah, they beat Mississippi State.
Yep.
Right. I mean, so they've got some signature wins. They're capable, but so for Houston, if they mess around and they like overlook them, then these things can go up in flames. But take care of your business, and you should win this game. What's next, Pick?
Up next, one of those odd Week 12 matchups here in college football. Prairie View A&M at number 16, Texas A&M, 11 a.m. on a Saturday. These late-season non-conference SEC pay games are weird, right?
Yes, they are. And we saw it last week. Alabama played New Mexico State, and like for some reason. And it's because, I don't know why, but the SEC is really they're the only people who do this. You'll see this every once in a while with like other schools who have like big rivalry games that they'll put at the end of the year. I know, like, I want to say like West Virginia and Pitt play at the end of the year in the backyard brawl, and other things. I mean, Army and Navy, obviously that's a different situation. But this is odd, and they just kind of jammed them in the middle of the season, kind of as like a breather, like that you get a cupcake just as a treat.
Why do you not? Why do you not just take another bye week, maybe?
Well, yeah, I mean, because you need another home gate, basically.
I will say that the small schools absolutely love this because they get a fat paycheck out of it.
Well, and the other thing, here's the thing for Prairie View. Prairie View's in the thick of the SWAC hunt. They are certainly in that mix and looking to try to make some play. So here's a good way to tune up and go against a team that, guys, A&M's going to beat Prairie View. Okay, I hope I'm not going out on a limb there. They're going to beat them probably pretty soundly, but you get to go and get to an elite defense.
Just don't go get hurt.
Yeah, you get to go and get to an elite defense, test yourself against them. So there's a lot to game, I think, for Prairie View. But yeah, I've always thought these are weird, and it's a uniquely SEC thing to do, is to just like jam a non-conference game like late in the year. Like, we see that every once in a while. You'll see some conferences that'll have like, they'll play a conference game, like one conference game, and then they'll go back to playing a non-conference game. I want to say Baylor did that this year. Like, I want to say they played a conference game and then they played BYU or something like that. You see that every once in a while, but the SEC is the only one who does this in like November, which is weird. Anyway, A&M's going to win. Texas A&M's going to win. Prairie View A&M will be happy to cash paycheck. What's next?
Up next, Texas at West by God, Virginia, 11 a.m. on a Saturday. With the turmoil on the Texas roster, who has to step up for the Longhorns to make a bowl?
Yeah, and it's especially on the offensive side, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Bijan Robinson's out for the year. Now Joshua Moore is in the transfer portal. There's a lot of things that are kind of moving every which way. I think there's 2 guys that immediately spring to mind for me offensively. I mean, obviously they need better play from the quarterback, but I want to put that aside for a moment. I would look at a guy like Jonathan Brooks, a reigning Mr. Texas Football Player of the Year, who I think is going to get more touches and is going to get an opportunity to shine a little bit. And I would look at a guy like Jordan Whittington, who it sounds like is coming back from injury, should be ready, hopefully will be ready for this game against West Virginia.
Worthy's been big, too, when they can get the ball.
Xavier Worthy, of course, the freshman, has been great as well. they're going to have to lean on these young guys. And I think that for Sarkisian, there's going to be a lot of roster turnover. And I think these final 2 games, you're going to find out who's there to
keep a spot.
Who wants a spot on that roster. It's going to be a lot of turnover. There was a lot made of him saying, like, we could have as many as 33 new players next year. And, like, people were kind of freaking out. I'm like, no, it kind of sounds right. They'll have a full recruiting class, and they'll probably have, like, 8 transfers. That sounds right. And so there's going to be some turnover. And for some guys like that, here's an opportunity to showcase it. Going on the road to West Virginia, who, again, talk about up and down. At times they've looked great, and at times they've looked like one of the worst teams in the Big 12. Go on the road, get the offense going against a defense that is I think in the top half of the Big 12. An opportunity to see what happens there. But of course, maybe don't give up 59 points like you did last week.
The math typically checks out there, yeah.
I don't know, just a thought. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, Texas State at Coastal Carolina, 24.5 dog, 12 p.m. on Saturday. Over/under on basically 500 total yards for Coastal.
Yeah, so here's the problem. So Coastal is not the Coastal that they were like last year when they ran the table.
Right.
And they were like, Sun Belt champions and like an unstoppable
Should have been in the playoff.
Yeah, should have been in the playoff. They're not that team. They've got, I want to say 2 losses on the year. But they are one of the most efficient offenses in America.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be problematic for Texas State.
Especially on the road. Time change.
On the road in Conway. It's in Conway, South Carolina. I don't know if you knew that. In Conway, I think it's going to be tough. I am gonna take the under. I think they're going to be able to hold them down a little bit, but this
You're
is
thinking 450.
Yeah, I think that this is a very dangerous Coastal. This is a very dangerous matchup for Texas State, simply because Coastal is stinging. They lost last week, and I feel like they want to get a little bit of anger out against a team that they are better than, and I don't think that's really going on a limb. So, yeah, I'm going to take the under, but I do think they're certainly going to get theirs. What's next?
Up next, how about our small school game of the week? Number 16, Trinity, taking on number 2, Mary Hardin Baylor, 12 p.m. on Saturday. You can stream it on crewathletics.com. What's the outlook for UMHB as the Division III playoffs kick off? Yeah,
so this is so let me be very clear. There's 2 Trinities. I want to say Trinity College is the team that they're playing here. Trinity.
Is that in the one in San Antonio?
No, they are playing the one from up in the Northeast.
Okay.
This is the team from up in the Northeast. They're traveling like 600 miles to get here.
Gotcha. But there is a Trinity in
There's a Trinity
in
San Antonio. This is not them. This is an out-of-state game for Mary Hardin Baylor. Now, Mary Hardin Baylor's been bobbing along. They're the number 2 team, number 2 seeded team in the bracket. I believe Mount Union is number 1. And yeah, look, I think they're a favorite to at least make a Division III title game. The defense has been fantastic. Basically, the one game that they struggled in was against Hardin Simmons, who probably should have gotten in the playoffs too. But they were able to, they were able to come back and win that game. I don't know if this is a national championship caliber team. I think they're capable of playing for it. I think they'll be a favorite this week. Well, this is a good Trinity squad from up in the Northeast, but that's a long trip to Belton, and I feel like that's going to be problematic for them. So I think UMHB is going to be your favorite here. Probably going to be your favorite the rest of the way until they get to a title game potentially against a team like Mount Union. So great shot to get there. They would probably be underdogs to Mount Union in a title game, but that's why they play the game, right? All right, what's next, Pickle?
Up next, back to the AAC we go. SMU at number 5, Cincinnati, 11.5-point dogs there, 2:30 p.m. on Saturday. What percentage chance do you give SMU of ruining Cincinnati's perfect season? Yeah,
it's weird. Cincinnati, of course, has become the darling of people like me who want the playoff to acknowledge that there's good football outside of the 60 teams that inhabit the Power 5. But Cincinnati has had this bad habit of not standing on the throat of their opponent. They fool around and they try to lose games. And so can they come out focused against an SMU team that I think is capable of beating them? Look, last week what they did I thought was awfully impressive. What they were able to do against that the defense that they played last week, they were able to really gash them on the ground. Trey Siggers and Ulysses Bentley. Tanner Mordecai, of course, did what he does. The defense, still a bit of a problem. That's going to be a problem against Desmond Ritter and this Cincinnati team. I give SMU a 33% chance, a 1/3 chance of beating Cincinnati. I think they've got a shot. I think this is a big danger for Cincinnati, but they do get them at home, and that is probably an advantage for them. 11.5 is honestly a little bit rich for me. I would probably take SMU plus 11.5, but I do think Cincinnati is probably the favorite to win this game. They probably win this game two times out of 3. I'll give the Ponies the 33% chance. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, to Conference USA, UAB at number 22, UTSA, 2:30 p.m. on a Saturday, and this is the one we've had circled on the calendar. Is this the biggest game in UTSA history?
Yeah, I think it is.
Has it only been around, 8 years now?
Yeah, since 2012.
9? Okay.
So 9th season, maybe. But this is huge doings and a real opportunity for UTSA to cement themselves as, and put themselves in a position to win Conference USA and to win the West. Now, UAB's been a little bit disappointing. That loss a couple weeks ago to Rice. I mean, shout out Rice doing that job. Like, UTSA is in the driver's seat. I think they can still technically, if they lose out, they can still not make the conference, still not win the West by losing to UAB and then whoever they play in the final week. But this is for UTSA, what happened last week against Southern Miss. If you do that this week, you will lose.
Yes,
You
cannot dig yourself in a hole like you did.
But even before the season, go read the magazine we were talking about. If things break the right way, this could be a massive game and could be for the Conference USA West crown.
And if you're going to do this well this long, go ahead and put your stamp on it. Just finish it off.
Finish it off. Get the win you need.
Yeah.
I think if they win this game, I think they're going to be favored in week 12 or the final week to go 12-0 and to go to conference. They'll go to the Conference USA championship game.
They could have
hosted. Yeah. In fact, at that point, they'd probably host it. And so, take care of your business here. I think this is the biggest game in UTSA history. I think Jeff Traylor's going to have his boys ready. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to win by 10 points. There you go. You heard it here first. I think they win by double digits. I think the Roadrunners get the win over UAB. Meet. What's next?
Staying in Conference USA here, a little bit different of a situation on the west side. Rice at UTEP. UTEP, a 9-point favorite in the Sun Bowl, 3 p.m. on a Saturday. But here's the thing. Who needs the win more, Rice or UTEP, who started off so hot and then kind of fumbled?
It's really interesting because I think you can make a real argument for both sides. For Rice, this has been a team that has not played to their paper. This has been a team that I think has disappointed overall. And basically, aside from that win against UAB and hanging close against Arkansas in the opener, it's probably been a bit of a disappointing season there. This would be a win on the road in conference that would really make them feel good against a team that is going bowling, right? Or at least is bowl eligible. If they finish 6-6, UTEP might be on the outside looking in. For UTEP, I think this is super important because you can make an argument that they have beaten all the bad teams and they've lost to all the good teams. Well, here's a bad team, and you need to go out there and prove that you're not just, an early, you didn't just peak early. You have a little bit of staying power. I think it's important for them. I don't know. I think it's probably a little bit more important to UTEP, if anything, because I think that a 7-win UTEP team is definitely getting in a bowl. A 6-win UTEP team might be on the outside looking in. So that is, I would say right now it's for UTEP, especially at home. I think it's a critical game for them to make sure they take care of business. I'm going to say it's more important for UTEP. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, let's go with some Big 12 actions. Kansas at TCU. TCU, a 21-point favorite, 3 p.m. on a Saturday. Is TCU closer to what we saw against Baylor or what we saw against the Pokes? Yeah,
because it's weird because we're not going to find out a ton about it because they're playing Kansas, although
I was going to say, go ahead and bite your tongue there.
Yeah, but they played two, let's just say I'm comfortable saying Baylor and Oklahoma State are 2 of the 3 best teams in the Big 12.
Yes.
That's fair. And so they are, if you are TCU, you're coming down in competition. What I think is so interesting about this is you go back to what happened against Baylor. And by the way, the other thing about this game is that both Baylor and Oklahoma State have great defenses, and yet they got treated differently by this TCU attack. Chandler Morris went nuts against Baylor, and he was a non-factor against Oklahoma State. And so for me, what I want to see is how do they change the offense? How do they... I think they're probably a little closer to what we saw against Oklahoma State than against Baylor. I think that they were playing with a little bit of vinegar in their veins against TCU, against a rival. I think they get this win, which would be huge for them and would make them bowl eligible. But I do think that they're probably closer to what we saw against Oklahoma State than against Baylor. I think they probably played about as well as they possibly could play against Baylor. Oklahoma State, they played poorly, but I think that they are closer to that than they are to the super peak that we saw against Baylor.
Right.
What's next, Pickle?
Sticking with that aforementioned Baylor team, at number 11 taking on Kansas State, 4:30 p.m. in Manhattan on Saturday. Why is number 11 Baylor an underdog against Kansas State?
Yeah, it's weird. I kind of flinched when I saw this.
Playing in the purple, man.
I think it's twofold. One, I think Kansas State's better than people realize. I think Deuce Vaughn's been really good. They have an identity that may cause problems for Baylor in the sense that they actually profile decently against what Oklahoma State does offensively, which is they run the ball effectively, they play clock control, their defense has been largely pretty good, they're able to keep the ball away from Baylor and things like that, grind out long drives. Also, going to Manhattan's a chore.
Yeah.
Going to Manhattan's no fun, and they've made it no fun for people. That said, I think Baylor should win this game. I think Baylor is the better team here, but there's a lot of factors here that make it look like iffy, and I understand what Vegas sees. I don't agree with it. I would say that Baylor is probably the better team, and I'm going to ask the better team to win the game.
Right.
But Kansas State's not a pushover. Kansas State's a decent team, and possibly 9-3 team if they're able to win out. So for Baylor, don't let the emotions of last week's win over Oklahoma distract you from what is a very capable team, especially at home in Kansas State. Yeah. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, Conference USA action. North Texas taking on FIU. 6 p.m. on a Saturday. Is North Texas going to mess around and make a bowl?
Okay. So they're 4-6 right now.
They
They got to win out. They're better than FIU. FIU's bad.
They're traditionally terrible.
And they're bad this year. They're bad. And North Texas is better. Now, going to the East Coast is not going to be fun.
No.
They got to go to, are they in?
Miami.
Miami?
Yep.
Going to Miami is fun, but not for this traveling football purposes. So that's tough. But North Texas is playing better. North Texas has been improving, I think, especially offensively, they've been improving. And getting a little bit more consistency.
It will be.
And look, they'll be favored this week. As you see, they're double-digit favorites on the road against FIU because FIU is really bad. Next week they get what? UAB? That's going to be a chore. So I would put it at about a 25% chance that they get bowl eligible. But it's possible. Maybe they've just improved. Maybe UAB, maybe if they get smashed by UTSA, maybe they give up. Maybe there's just a lot of what is there to play for? And UTSA can surprise them. I think that they're still underdogs to make a bowl, but it's out there. And they've got an opportunity. You got to make sure you take care of it. Don't spit the bit against a bad Panthers team.
6-8. Them on the road never leaves me feeling good.
Yeah, it's
Ever.
Troubling. All right, what's next, Pickle?
And finally, we're going to round it out with some Big 12 action as number 9, Oklahoma State takes on the Red Raiders of Texas Tech, 7 p.m. on Saturday. Make a play on the line. Oklahoma State is favored by 10 in Lubbock.
Yeah. Intriguing here. Texas Tech's obviously on an upswing, what they did last week.
A night game.
I think they found something in Donovan Smith, at least for the rest of this year, that they feel good about. They were able to run the ball pretty effectively last week with Tosh Brooks. Defense still a work in progress, let's say it. But this is an Oklahoma State offense that, last week against TCU aside, has only been pretty good. And so maybe, this is a good test for this kind of new look Texas Tech offense with Sonny Cumbie at the controls, although he's been at controls all year, and with Donovan Smith at the quarterback spot. The other thing about this is it's a night game in Lubbock.
Yep.
And night games in Lubbock.
Tortillas.
And let's talk about pressure. Who's the pressure on in this game?
Yeah, no kidding.
Like, the pressure is very clearly on Oklahoma State.
Yeah, so just
Texas
go out
Tech,
there and play.
Texas Tech, they got bowl eligible last week. They don't care. They're done. They got it. So for me, I look at this and I say, Oklahoma State's got a lot of pressure. Mm-hmm. They're going on the road to Tech.
Night game in Lubbock.
A Tech team that maybe is feeling a little bit more confidence. I think I'm going to take Tech in the points. I think I'm going to take Tech at plus 10 and think they keep it close. I think Oklahoma State probably wins, but I think the Tech's going to be able to keep it close.
Winning by a field goal would be totally on brand for this game.
It really would be. So I'm going to take Tech plus 10. I think that's where I'm landing. And those are some college football burning questions for week 12.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you would like more and to be notified when they come out, go ahead and click that subscribe button right down there. You can also watch Texas Football Today every day live at noon on TexasFootball.com, Facebook, Twitch, and right here on YouTube. For more of the best coverage of Texas football in the Lone Star State, go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe.